Has Denmark fallen to Islamism? Danish parliament bans Quran burnings. Denmark's recent legislative move to ban Quran burnings has garnered attention in the wake of widespread protests and security concerns stemming from previous incidents in Denmark and neighboring Sweden. The bill, passed on December 7th with 94 votes in favor, prohibits the public mistreatment of holy texts, including the Quran, with penalties ranging from fines to a maximum of 2 years in prison. The Danish Ministry of Justice stated that the aim is to counter the perceived quote unquote systematic mockery contributing to escalating terrorism threats. Notably, the bill has its critics, including Inger Stojberg, leader of the Denmark Democrats Party, who expressed concern about the impact on freedom of speech. Stolberg's quote said, quote, "History will judge us harshly for this, and for good reason. What it all comes down to is whether a restriction on freedom of speech is determined by us or whether it is dictated from the outside," highlighting the debate about balancing freedom of expression with national security. Critics argue that such restrictions might undermine hard won liberal freedoms, while Denmark's ruling centrist coalition maintains that the bill will have an only marginal impact on freedom of speech. Meanwhile, Sweden is also exploring a different approach to addressing Quran burnings while safeguarding freedom of expression, considering the possibility of allowing the Swedish police to reject protest applications based on national security. So, here's the situation. For those who are not familiar, I'll give you some background. So, this summer, there was a series of Quran burnings that happened, and they were really kicked off originally in Sweden, actually by an Iraqi refugee in Sweden named Salwan Momika. And Armin, do you remember if he's actually ex-Muslim or not? I know that he's very critical of Islam. He's very
No,
outspoken against Islam.
he was never Muslim. He was Christian.
Okay.
He was so he used to be part of some Islamic radical like militia groups in Iraq, but as a Christian, not as a Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he has his own history. And then that sparked a lot of burnings happening in Denmark. And then there was a quote that said that there were 493 Quran burnings in Denmark, like since July. That's crazy. And this caused massive protests. This caused people to boycott Sweden and Denmark across the Islamic world. This even caused people to storm the Green Zone in Baghdad and set the Danish embassy on fire. Let's be clear. This happened only a few months ago, guys. I don't know if anyone forgot. I didn't. So, ever since then, the Danish parliament has been having these discussions about how do we deal with this issue. And their answer to this problem is to curtail the freedom of expression of their own citizens because of threats from people that want to kill them for this action abroad. And this is deplorable to me. It's absolutely deplorable. Now, apparently, this version of the bill that passes the Danish parliament, it needs to be signed by the Queen. It's expected to be signed by the Queen next month. Apparently, this version of the bill, somehow they edited it to have less severe implications on the freedom of speech. Allegedly. Personally, that's unacceptable to me, regardless. I don't care. Because here's the situation. I saw a quote, and I don't know if the exact numbers are accurate. So let's just take the spirit of this quote, which was, it took Denmark 600 years to repeal blasphemy laws, and 6 years of bullying to put them back on the books. That's how easily hard-won freedoms will be rolled back. It's deplorable, shameful, and embarrassing. And that politician is right. Denmark will be judged harshly for this. Because those of us who are interested in this issue, familiar with this space, will remember that it was really the Danish cartoon incidents in 2006 that kicked off international awareness of the blasphemy taboo. People died for that. People died for that in 2006. And Denmark stood firm. Denmark stood very firm. And really, in many ways, that set the stage for the rest of the world and how they moved forward when it came to incidents of blasphemy taboo. Standing firm, not apologizing for our own hard-won rights. You can have your own personal opinions about the quality or content of anything deemed so-called blasphemous. Many politicians would be like, yeah, personally, I don't like this, but I'm standing firm in not apologizing for the fact that we have people in our country doing this. That's their right. That's part of what they are guaranteed as their contract with us as a state. Social contract, right? This is part of the agreement. This is in our constitution. Well, maybe not constitution. Not all these places are constitutional. Let's be clear. You know what I'm saying. And this is such a dangerous precedent. And this is going to be held up as an example around the world for the people who are going to push harder for this to go further. You do not give Islamists an inch, they will take a mile. Because what people fail to understand is when you are dealing with the nature of person, specifically Islamists, who are going to threaten you with violence, death, and torture for cartoons, one, we need to be clear that there is no moral equivalence between drawing a cartoon or saying something that's offensive and murdering someone over it, for terrorizing a society over it. There is no moral equivalence. So, like, let's just get that out of the way for people who have the wool pulled over their eyes. It's freaking embarrassing. Second, this is going to be held up as an example of, look it, this tactic works. This tactic works. Let's keep going. Let's push for this harder. They will stand down. Look, even they know that this is wrong. Even they know that this is wrong. So when they're dealing with people within their own countries, within their own communities who are trying to speak up and criticize Islam, just criticize, not even mock. They're going to say, and we see this all the time in examples in Iran. Look at, even the Westerners understand that this is unacceptable. Even the Westerners who are your white masters, who you worship so much, using kind of the rhetoric that they use, right? Even they understand that this is unacceptable. Look at, they know that this is wrong. How dare you do this? You have no right to do this. You deserve punishment for this, because they punish people for this. You deserve to live in fear over this, because we put fear in their heart and it worked. I want everyone to understand the broader implications of this. And it's also worth understanding that, like I said, you give them an inch, they will take a mile. And one of my favorite quotes from Maryam Namazi, and I apologize, I don't remember the verbiage, so I'm going to have to go with the spirit of the quote. But she's basically saying, what you need to understand about Islamists is that a woman's hair is blasphemous. A woman's skin is blasphemous. Criticism is blasphemous, right? It's not, what she's getting at is it doesn't stop with just desecration, right? It doesn't stop with just mockery. It is all encompassing, because we are dealing with a totalistic ideology that puts forward the strongly held central tenet that this is an idea that is above any scrutiny whatsoever, because it is perfect for all men for all time. When you are dealing with a sense of totalism like that. Anything is blasphemous. Scientific progress is blasphemous. Evolution is blasphemous. So this is why we here at Atheist Republic are always trying to communicate to people that this is about so much more than desecration or mockery. A lot of people don't really like the mockery, even ex-Muslims, atheists in general. A lot of people don't like the desecration. They find it off color. They find it distasteful. But it's about, and this is one of the things that Armin taught me several years ago that has always stuck in my mind. It's about red lines. It's about detecting red lines and seeing what is allowed to be questioned, what is held above scrutiny. And this needs to be protected so that all of the more subtle things that come before it as not nearly seen as offensive are also protected. I hope I'm making sense here. Right. And I just saw Dee bring up a point in the live chat. By the way, I want everyone to say thank you, Dee, because she is our lovely volunteer editor. So she's saying, guys, it is any holy text, which should include the Bible. Okay, let's be clear. Yes, the law does say all sacred texts, and there are certain conditions about when and where you can do this, okay? Everyone knows that this is in response to the Quran burnings. Yes, technically, before the law, it has to be equal under the law. That's a technicality. We all know this is about the Quran. Does anyone here truly believe that after 600 years in repealing blasphemy laws in Denmark, they would institute this again over the Bible? Does anyone really believe that if they're being honest with themselves? No. We all know where this is coming from. Especially given the time, it's obvious. They talk about it. Like, so I don't want to hear anyone making that excuse. Okay, that was enough of my ranting.
I have a question. So is it just, can you explain to me what the law says, that you cannot burn any holy text?
The bans
Is
the
that what the law
public mistreatment of holy texts.
Public. Can I mistreatment? So like you could basically, what is mistreatment? What if I spit on it? So it's not just burning.
That would count.
That would count. Because I was thinking that if they are banning the burning of it, I was suggesting for people to take a page of the Quran and go pick their dog poop with it. Would that be and record that? That would be banned as well. Picking your dog
Yes,
poop.
especially one aspect of the law is literally that you cannot do it publicly or record it and publish it for wide dissemination. So videoing it, even in your own private home, to publish it for wide dissemination is also illegal.
Wow. What if I did this with the satanic verses? Would that be illegal? Like if I took
Probably yes,
not satanic verses. So wait. I mean the holy, like the satanic Bible, not the satanic verses. That's Islamic.
Yes,
the satanic
that
Bible,
would be legal.
Okay.
Because Trells is bringing up a good point that is a detail that I didn't mention, which is only holy texts of religious groups recognized by the state. Now, I don't know for a fact, but I'm assuming Satanism isn't recognized by the state in Denmark.
So somebody should try. I mean, I'm not encouraging people to do illegal things, but what if somebody tried to do with the Bible? They would get arrested. Like, what is the punishment? A fine? We get arrested, like in prison?
You would have a fine, and the maximum penalties is 2 years in prison.
2 years in prison for spitting on a piece of paper.
Yeah, for doing what you want with your own property, so long as it is your own property, assuming.
What if you have a recording of you burning the Quran, burning a book that you claim is the Quran, but you also have a record, and then when they come arrest you to put you in prison, you have a previous recording that shows that it was not the Quran, it was just empty pages. I just claimed that it
Honestly,
was the Quran.
I mean, you're just being tricky right now.
No,
But
I'm just trying to show how ridiculous this law is. Like, it's just paper. What if what I said was on it was not really on that paper? Like, it's just so dumb. Like, you guys are putting, the state is now in a position to put value on piece of paper because of the claim that this is somehow divine. So the state is officially recognizing divine authority.
yes.
Okay.
And Pele is bringing up a good point, saying this is an important point. The state decides what is a holy book and what is not. How could that
insane.
go wrong?
How are you how can you claim to be a secular state when you are valuing certain papers over some other piece of paper, depending on whether the text on it is considered divine or not divine? How is this you go to prison or not, depending on the marks on the page being considered divine, the word of a divine entity or not? And this is obviously this is blasphemy law. Denmark has blasphemy law.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And all it took was some bullying by the OIC and the United Nations, which is now controlled by freaking Islamists, it seems like.
Yeah, and it's not just a free speech issue. It's also you are encouraging violent behavior. You are encouraging fear of violence. You are signaling to everybody that if you want to get your way, it gets barbaric. That is a very dangerous message to send out there. I mean, and it didn't take that much. It took so if you are crazy, we will listen to you. So act crazy. That's the message out there. This is not this is gonna get worse.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my god, this is gonna do the opposite of what you're trying to do. So you're trying to do this so you get less radicalism and get less crazy behavior in Europe. All you're doing is doing this does the opposite of what you're trying to do. This is like, hey, everybody in Europe, look, we get our way when we behave this way. I mean, Susie, explain to me, these people must know these. Like, I mean, these politicians cannot be that stupid. So
I don't know if they're that stupid or just that cucked by political correctness.
Right. I mean, they're not that stupid. They just care more about their political career than the state of their country. That's what's happening.
Or they say that
because I don't believe that
they are caring for their country because this is a national security issue. You think anyone that's going to come kill you over this cares about this standard? No. That's actually,
it is a national security.
There's studies revealing that blasphemy laws make national security worse. Look at Pakistan.
It isn't that. But my point is that, yes, this is a national security issue, and you are rewarding the behavior that is threatening your national security. Obviously, this is going to do the opposite of what you intended to do. And you know this because you cannot be that dumb. I mean, it's hard to get that dumb and get anywhere in your career. So my guess is that these are people who know this, but they're putting their career ahead of, because they understand that this is how you get elected. This is how you stay in power as a politician. Mm-hmm. They're sacrificing their country for the sake of their own career. Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable.
So bad. So we have a few comments. First of all, we have a new member. Weasel just joined as a member. Welcome to Satan's Minions.
Thank you.
And Erkin, and actually, first I want to read the comments from Trells, our local Dane. When you responding to your hypothetical situation, he said that's illegal too, because the law says that you also cannot burn any item pretending to be a holy text. And that makes sense because it plays into their broader thing of you cannot video this to distribute for the sake of like public outrage, incitement, however they phrase it. He also says Denmark does not claim to be a secular state. Article 4 of our constitution mandates that the state maintain a Lutheran state church. That's also what Erican was saying. Thank you for the super chat, Erican. Yeah, he said Denmark is officially a Christian state.
Mm.
Wait.
Well, this is not.
In the live chat, Sheikh Armin Ibn Wahhabi said, "Astaghfirullah." Oh my god. Yeah.
I hope that people in the rest of Europe go out and blaspheme as much as possible against religious texts as a way to show that at least because I think that needs to happen. I think because if you want in one country, at least you could see that the level of blasphemy against religious texts is increasing in other places as a way to as a deterring. This is why being insulting to religious texts and anything that is considered sacred, it has utility. It's not just a revenge thing. It's not just poking at people and trying to be like, oh my god, does this hurt? Let me poke. Like, it's people must understand that this has actual political utility. This is a form of activism that is signaling to people who are trying to silence you that these methods don't work. So don't think that when we are encouraging people and suggesting that maybe they should go burn the Quran, maybe they should go insult the Quran or whatever, draw Muhammad, it's not because we're just trying to make Muslims upset. We're not trying to make them, we're not bullies. We're not trying to just get a reaction out of people. It's supposed to act like a deterring tool. Like the thing that you want for us not to say, if you try to do that by force or by intimidation, it's going to get louder. It's going to get more. Is to prove that methodology doesn't work. It's to discourage people from using those intimidation tactics. So I'm hoping that the rest of Europe at least responds to this. And there are activists all around Europe that actually go out of their way to make sure that they do 10 times, 100 times more the thing that the Islamists are trying to silence. By the way, I use the word Islamist a lot. I just want to clarify that I don't think Islamism is a thing, but I do think Islamists are a thing because Islamism and Islam are the same thing. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is what people don't understand is that, and I'm going to explicitly be promoting this more and more because I think more people need clarity around this. We need to be treating Islamists, these are theocratic fascists, with the same level of contempt, disdain, and disgust that we treat Yahtzees. Like, let's be 100% clear. And for those who don't know, Yahtzee is our code word that we use for the bad people from World War II. Okay, because YouTube doesn't like that word. We need to promote more clarity around this because they are actually incredibly similar in their sympathies and also their end goals. And so much of our political body in the West is literally cucked into treating these people like victims because they're brown. Like, it's embarrassing, but that's literally true. I mean, like, oh yeah, well, no, it's not like that because oh my god, it's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I went on a rant yesterday with Armin about how I have drastically changed my opinions about immigration in Europe over the past few days. Yeah.
Tell us.
Know if that's... Oh my god.
Tell us.
Basically, I was watching a lot of different videos about how not blasphemy, how immigration is impacting Europe right now, and I understand the concerns of people and the point they were making so much more now. And I think one thing I didn't understand as an American was how the welfare state plays into this. And so basically, and I didn't appreciate how it has a severe undue burden on the rest of society when they have a really large welfare state. Because when you have a really large welfare state, it necessitates that you need a highly skilled population that is then contributing back a lot into the welfare state. And if you have a large population that is low skilled or can't even really speak the language that well or doesn't even want to, then they are always going to be taking more from the welfare state than what they contribute. And then over time, that is going to drag the entire society down. Like it's literally just math. And I was watching a lot of videos specifically about the on how Denmark, for example, is taking very severe measures to push integration into communities. And some of these measures are very heavy-handed. Some of them require a heavy degree of very strong intervention directly into people's lives from the state. And normally, in that, I mean, in many ways, that does make me uncomfortable because I'm kind of someone with I would say I'm a libertarian sympathizer. um, but I think that this is in I'm gonna even get really, really real. If this requires that these states do not accept immigrants or refugees that are even the people that I want protection for the most, namely being LGBT people and ex-Muslims, that might be a step that they have to take. Because let's be honest in saying that these states do not owe that to anyone. They owe maintaining a quality of life and maintaining the social contract with their own citizenry. And so a lot of these measures that they're taking, I understand it so much more now because they essentially need to put the gas mask or not the gas mask, the little oxygen mask, on an airplane on themselves first before they take care of other people. And so they're going to have to become very strict on immigration, probably for another 15 to 20 years, because they need to get their failure of integration. Their own politicians come out and openly say how much they failed to integrate. They need to get a handle on that before they can continue to welcome in other people. That's literally just the most responsible thing to do. I think you could also make a very progressive argument that failing to integrate the people that come into their community and instead allow them to ghettoize and live in poverty itself is not actually very humanitarian. Itself is not very progressive. Itself is not very welcoming. If you're not taking measures and just to actually make sure that people are living the same quality of life as the native population, right? It's going to require heavy intervention. Um, and it's made me understand the route that Europe has taken a lot more. Um, yeah, Zayd is saying I totally understand that, but it kind of crushes my hope of getting out of the Middle East. Well, okay, my love. Um, Here's the thing. This is often the case for low-skilled refugees, asylum seekers, or people who are illegal migrants. I know what you do, Zayd. You work really hard and you're working to make yourself highly skilled. A lot of these countries still need highly skilled immigration, especially considering their declining birth rates, and they need people paying back into the social welfare system. So yeah, I don't know. Those are kind of my rough thoughts at the moment.
Yeah, we forgot to highlight some of the comments that D-Look found for us. Do you want to read these? regarding the Danish?
Oh, okay. Just a second. Let me zoom in. Okay, someone on Twitter responded to seeing this article in the New York Times saying civilized people can use words to discuss their thoughts and feelings about books and statues and flags. Uncivilized people feel the need to destroy these objects as if that will fix the problem. Or is it because they recognize their own incapacity to destroy all they fear? This
So,
is
but
such
this
okay.
person doesn't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go on. No, no, but this person doesn't understand is that this is just not giving into bullies, right? You could have, and it's also a logical fallacy referred to as false dichotomy, as if you there's a lot of activism that is not by words, like you do activism by dancing, by you know by making a statue, by like many forms, by music, and sometimes you burn things as a form of activism, or spit on something, or destroy something as a form of activism, right? Or sometimes you take a hammer and break something as a form of symbolism. But the point is that you could have conversations as well. This does not, somebody who has, in fact, if you go look at the activists that take part in, I don't know, burning the Quran or desecrating something or drawing Muhammad, they most of the time they have a lot to say. So to act like one they are choosing one over the other is so dishonest. It's actually a very lazy way of addressing what's happening, as if they are not also taking part in conversations. Are you pretending? Does that make it easier for you to criticize, to pretend like these people are not taking part in conversations about the reason why they're doing what they're doing? So I think it's a straw man, it's a false dichotomy, and it's not recognizing many different forms of activism that exist.
Mhm.
But do you want to respond to that also, or
No,
that
I
is all?
actually had some starred comments I wanted to go through. So, Trials again, our
Okay.
local Dane is saying now for a bit of good news. The law passed by 94 votes, with the majority being just 90. And according to current polls, the four parties who voted for it will only be at 68 in the next election, meaning so this will very likely be repealed in about 2 years or so. Let's freaking hope so. Like, I don't know what politics is like in Denmark, but I hope there's like a strong coalition of Danes freaking
Oh my god, that
pulling
would be
their
great.
hair out over this. Because this is unacceptable. Um, but even still, it's because here's the message it sends. I was like trying to look up news about this, and then what do I see? Oh, I see a big thing from Al Azhar University celebrating this as a proof that this is all about peace and about respecting Muslims and fighting Muslim hatred. Blah blah blah. Give me a break. No, it's not. It's not about those things. Um, oh, ah!
Okay,
It
what?
particularly makes me angry because these are the exact same institutions that give very little care about the actual quality of life of Muslims around the world. And it could not be more obvious by the way they call Gazans being killed by Israeli airstrikes a victory because they get to be Shaheed, by the way that they don't say crap about the way the Indian Muslims are lynched, and by the way that they have almost nothing to say about the actual genocide of Muslims going on in China. But this is what shows that there will be peace and that there's not hatred towards Muslims. Okay, sure.
Papers over people.
Yeah, I mean, but we know this. GJ is also saying, sorry, but how does our resident US host compare this to the necessity for US presidential candidates to be religious or Christian? It's not a legal necessity, it's just a cultural one. There's
Which is a
literally
bad one.
nothing in our there's nothing in our law. We have no aspect of our constitution that says that we have to have a leader that is from this faith.
Right.
We're not Lebanon. We don't have the confessional system.
Right.
Yeah, if you want to see how that
Okay.
goes, check out Lebanon. Sorry.
Mm.
Their system is so confusing. It's such a mess. They're like,
It
this
is.
position of government has to be a Christian, and this one has to be a Shia, and this one has to be a Druze, and this one has to be a Sunni. It's like, can we just get who's qualified? Instead, it now
Right.
becoming family dynasties that control certain ministries.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.